sweet spirit in this place. And I know that it's the Spirit of the Lord. There are sweet expressions on each face, and I know they feel the presence of the Lord. Sweet heavenly spirit, sweet heavenly dove, stay right here with me, filling us with love. And for these blessings, we do lift our hearts in praise. For without a doubt, we know we have been revived when we shall leave this place.
Good morning. And we're going to light our Christ candle as we do when we begin each one of our services. And let's start with an opening prayer. Like we do everything here at Unity Church of Raleigh, we like to begin with prayer. So I invite you right now to just close your outer eyes and take a deep breath in and center ourselves right here, right now, in this present moment. And as we do that, just feel this collective energy that we are. Just feel the love, feel the connection, feel this flow of energy that is divine, that is our spiritual nature, and feel it flowing in each and every one of us as we give gratitude to be able to be here today physically, to love and support each other, to raise ourselves to a higher vibration, a higher awareness and consciousness, and to bring this energy into our congregation, into our community, and into the world. This energy of love, of peace and harmony, this energy of knowing the truth that we are one, that we are divine. And so it is. Amen. And good morning. I want to welcome you all here this morning, and it's really a beautiful morning, isn't it? And it just, I'm still getting used to it, but it just feels so good to be physically present with looking out here and seeing faces and just being able to gather again. It feels good. And I also want to let you know that, as I said when we first began here at Unity Church of Raleigh, prayer is our heart, prayer is our soul. It's the place we always start. And we have a prayer box in the back that's available if anyone has any prayer needs that are moving in them. We also have our prayer team that will hold your prayer requests and write some beautiful affirmations for you. So please take advantage of the prayer support that we have available to you. Thank you.
Good morning. I won't make you say it again either. I greet you in the name of Jesus Christ and the warm and loving spirit of Unity Church of Raleigh. In unity, we welcome all people and honor the guard of your understanding. We bless all churches and spiritual groups throughout the world because we know we are all sons and daughters of the same loving Creator. So we welcome everyone. My name is Dave Rosen. I'm your platform leader today. Our musicians are Greg and Susan, Alan and Peggy. Our speaker is our own Reverend Ellen Barron. Let's begin by affirming our statement of faith. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe, and in my life and affairs, God the good. Now, welcome one of our spiritual community voices, Rebecca Rosario.
It is good to be here among you. Recently, I have been meditating on the power of the universe. For me, when I hear the word universe, I think of all of God's creation, the entirety of the divine. Universal energy is the power that attracts the earth to the sun and the tide to the shore. The same power is in and operates through us. The energy that is me and you comes from, is the same source, capital S, energy that creates all living things. There is no separation. By expanding my awareness, I realize I am one with the divine. I will quote Deepak Chopra from his guided meditation. In the ancient tradition, there is a declaration of the awakened. I am the universe. Taken in physical terms, this sounds like pure imagination, doesn't it? No one is literally a galaxy or a supernova. Something else is meant. You are the universe as you share the essence that unites everything in creation. Spiritually, we are the universe when we desire unbounded love and peace. Doesn't this sound wonderful? Deepak goes on to say, we live in a human universe, not a vast cold void, empty of meaning. In the age of faith, we see ourselves as part of a divine plan. In a secular age, that's a little bit more challenging to believe. Each person must test this personally. Deepak says we all want peace, love, and harmony. I line up with that. These are our truest intentions. I am the universe is the most profound description of who you really are when viewed as part of the wholeness of reality. This meditation brings me so much joy, knowing that I am a child of the cosmos. We are all one, created by the divine, from the same source, capital S, energy. I am grateful for this knowledge and our unity community that nurtures me as I find deeper connection to God. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. If you listen to my online course, you'll know about supernovas and whatnot. We are all products of supernovas. Okay, here's what's happening this week at UCR. Our free Tuesday morning meditation and prayer discussion with Reverend Ellen begins at 11:30 at the church and via Zoom. Reverend Ellen has a new class, Brené Brown's Braving the Wilderness, the quest for true belonging and the courage to stand alone. It meets 6 Wednesdays starting April 21st. 10 a.m. at church and Zoom, and at 7 p.m. Zoom only. There is a love offering. Reverend Ellen is starting a spiritual activism group focused on learning how to show up in a positive, emphatic, unity way to help create a world that works for everyone. The kickoff meeting for this free event is at 7 this Wednesday night via Zoom. Our team's meeting is this Thursday night, 7 o'clock till 8:30 via Zoom. Everyone is welcome. And it's PB&J time at UCR. We are collecting jars of peanut butter and jelly for the Food Bank Children's Summer Lunch Program, now through June. Thanks for bringing in your donations. Details of all classes, meeting, and events are on the website. And now, some music from the most talented UCR band.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this is one of mine. I will stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when the going gets tough, I will stand up. When times get hard, I will shine. Yeah, when the going gets tough, I will stand up. I am determined. I will be fine. I guess you noticed that I got up off the floor. I'll be the one to finish the score. I'll come out in the end. I don't have to pretend. Defend. And when the going gets tough, I will stand up. When times get hard, I will shine. Yeah, when the going gets tough, I will stand up. I am determined. I will be fine. My standing up doesn't depend on anyone else. I will stand because I stand inside myself. I'm strong, I won't break. The straight side's what it takes. It's what I make. And when the going gets tough, I will stand up. When times get hard, I will shine. Yeah, when the going gets tough, I will stand up. I am determined. I will be fine. I won't be broken, 'cause I know my limitations. I'll make a comeback, 'cause I plan for situations. Get you up or down, I'll wipe off the frown. I won't drown. And when the going gets tough, I will stand up. When times get hard, I will shine. Yeah, when the going gets tough, I will stand up. I am determined. I will be fine. And when the going gets tough, I will stand up. When times get hard, I will shine. Yeah, when the going gets tough, I will stand up. I am determined. I will be fine. I will stand up. I will be fine. I will stand up. I will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan, and the band. And it ties in with our message, Will the Real You Stand Up? And our beautiful reading, our beautiful sharing of her ideas and what's resonating for her by Rebecca about the universe was so beautiful, wasn't it? So between the song and between our talking about the fact that we are the expressions of this universe, that we are this big expansive presence, I think we're done. I think we're done. And One of the things that is also a lot of fun to do and to share are stories, right? Right? We all, who here doesn't actually love a good story? Okay. I can remember when I was a little girl, my sister and I used to walk to the library, and we would go there, we would get our books, we'd walk back home. I loved adventure and mystery. I kind of still do. I liked books that were exciting, that transported me into new adventures and new possibilities. The human nature is drawn to stories because we see ourselves reflected in them, don't we? It's an opportunity for us to identify, to connect, to see possibility. It's also a way for us to just have that sense of being together with stories. When we share our personal stories, we can share moments of passion, moments of sadness or loneliness, or just joy and excitement. So stories are this wonderful universal way for us to come together, to connect. And yet, stories can sometimes disconnect us, right? Stories can sometimes disconnect us. So you might ask, how so? You just told us all these wonderful ways that we relate through a story. And yet, if we think about how we sometimes talk about ourselves, if we think about how we show up, we're not always authentic, are we? Aren't we sometimes a little bit protected, a little bit guarded, a little bit less than being honest about what we're really thinking and feeling in that moment? And this, of course, comes from our early childhood, because we get filled up with messages from our childhood, messages that turn into our belief system. And it's not just from our parents, it's from our culture, it's from our society, it's from our education systems, it's from our friends and peers. But these guarded ideas, these embedded beliefs become triggers. And our ego actually creates this protective shell. And all of this is happening most of the time without us even realizing what's happening. This is what we call being unconscious, or maybe just saying we're not awake and aware. Because in our subconscious, all of this is happening. And so what we do is we take some ideas and or if somebody is talking to us, what we do is we suppress them. We don't want to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. We don't want to allow ourselves to be possibly hurt. So this is fear. We're looking right now at the egoic construct, because this is what happens to protect us. And it's just automatic. It's part of our human nature. And this is not something that gets pushed away, that gets brushed away, that gets cleared up easily. It really isn't. So if I was to ask anyone here in this room today, who are you? Just think about that for 1 minute and think about what your first responses might be. Who are you? Now, if you were to ask me, who am I might answer that I am a woman, I am of a certain age, I am a minister, I am a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend. I also have certain beliefs. I believe in God. I believe in peace and non-violence. But is this really who I am? Or is this still that whole construct of relational ideas that are really just thoughts about who we think we are that come from our mind? So, who are we then? Who are we then? If we're not this identity that we often just go to, how many of us, if we get asked, who are you, we go to someplace else, right? We start with who we are, maybe gender, job, all those kind of things. But when we start to loosen our attachment to the physical and the psychological parts of our being, it moves us into this flow of energy. And you were talking about that so beautifully, Rebecca. It moves us into this flow of energy, this cosmic being that we really are, spiritual being that we really are. Eric Butterworth, in his book, Discover the Power Within Us, puts it this way: the greatest mistake is in believing that we are only human. We are human in expression, but divine in creation and limitless in potentiality. We are fully human and fully divine. I know feels like we always come back to this idea, but it's at the heart. It's at the heart of how we live, isn't it? We can't get around that. It's so important to talk about because it does come through a different lens. It comes through a different lens where we're not looking at the external way that we're showing up, this idea of who we are. It comes through a lens that allows us to connect with that divine essence that's within us. Our personal self cannot connect with spirit. Let me say that again. Our personal self, this identity about who we think we are, this human construct, cannot connect with spirit. What we have to do is let go of that personality. We don't have to reach for spirit. We don't have to try to get spiritual. It works just the opposite. We have to release and let go. And that's how we start to feel and connect with that essence that's within us. It is that process of just becoming open and willing. And from there, we start to feel the presence that we really are. And as we meditate on this truth, as we meditate on this nature of spirit, then this starts to create within us that awareness. It starts to create a new set of beliefs. It starts to superimpose from our superconsciousness a new way that we can be, so that we aren't just living life with however our ego is allowing us to behave. Instead, we start to actually become the witness, right? We start to be able to witness. Witness what? We are witnessing these thoughts and emotions. We're witnessing who we think we are. We're becoming observers. We're not judging how we're showing up. We're simply becoming awake and aware. And that's the whole process that shifts us into this place where we are able to recognize our oneness. And it's only when we are in this place of oneness that we're able to live from a place where we recognize that divinity within each person, where we're able to love unconditionally. So, if we know this, and I would imagine most of us have been coming here for a while, so most of us know this, right? We know we're human, we know we're divine, we know that we have this, we have to move out of our limitations and we have to move into this true nature. So then I want to ask you next, are we living this? Is this how we're showing up on a daily basis? Are we living with this unconditional love? Or are we still being limited? Are we still wearing protective masks every time we start to get a little bit frightened or we feel some pain? Are we wearing a protective mask that defends ourselves against perceived harm? Are we holding back being able to express love to somebody because of a conflict or a held-on resentment and anger? Are we still limiting ourselves and not allowing ourselves to blossom to our full potential because we don't really believe we're enough? We don't really believe that we have this unlimited potential within us. Are we living up to the ideas that we just heard about, that we are the universe, that we are this unlimited, wonderful creation? We are spirit expressing. We are spirit expressing as the authentic, true divinity. It's a great idea, and it's the truth. And we just need to practice this. We just need to remember, learning any new skill, right? Learning any new skill takes some time. If you are a musician, we have several musicians over here, and I would imagine they could attest to this, that they began, and some of them may have began with this wonderful musical gift where it just came naturally and easily, but they probably still began with learning scales and practicing, if it's a piano, getting themselves comfortable with the keys, learning and honing that gift, that talent, that skill, so that it eventually blossoms into what we're able to enjoy together today. If you're an athlete, it's the same thing. You may have the physical structure, you may have the gift of being able to play basketball or run fast or swim, but it still takes practice. I remember listening to Michael Phelps one time around the Olympics when he was breaking all those records, and he was talking about that very thing, and he was saying that he went in the pool every single day to practice, and it didn't matter if it was a holiday or something like that. Every single day he made a commitment, he made the discipline to do and to evolve this skill. And so, why would we think our spiritual growth would happen any different way? Why would we think that just getting it up here is going to be enough, right? And a lot of us do. A lot of us do. A lot of us come and we listen and it sounds right, it resonates. I know when I first came to Unity, when I first sat here, I already had a spiritual practice of prayer and meditation and self-reflection. And when I came here and sat down, I loved what I heard. It was sometimes expressed in a little different way than I was used to. But that was the very part of it that excited me, to hear and know that God is not this outer being, that God is within me, that I have within me everything that I need. We call them the 12 powers, but they're attributes of God. They're gifts. They're part of who we are that we draw on so that we can walk through every challenge in life. In fact, what I heard also was that every challenge is actually this opportunity for me to grow. And yet, sometimes a challenge can get us kind of stuck, right? Just think about it. Think about any challenge that you recently had. If it was a health diagnosis that was given to you, did you, for a moment or two, kind of like catch your breath? Maybe a little fear, maybe a little insecurity, maybe a little worry came up. If you had a situation where perhaps circumstances changed and you were dealing with a financial insecurity, did you also start to feel a little nervous, a little anxious, a little concerned about your security? This is all natural. This is all part of how that human part of us functions. And that is why it is so important for us to remember and to do a daily practice of becoming awake and aware, so that even though these emotions come up, and they come up and it's fine, we're not going to try to suppress them, we're not going to try to judge them, they're good, they're bad, they're right, they're wrong. We're just witnessing, right? We're aware of what's moving and what's alive inside of us. And that is how we break that hold that human construct has, because we have become the witness, because we are already shifting now out of that human thought process and entering and functioning from our spiritual center, from our Christ nature. And so, right now, we are living in a very unusual time, right? We've had one full year where we have had to shut down, learn all new different ways of connecting, communicating, all those kind of things. And two things I feel have emerged from this last year. And the first one is a very definite sense of separation, a very emotionally charged ideas on I'm right and you're wrong, that have to do with so many issues around us, from politics to race to environment. I could go on. All of these seem to be exceptionally charged, exceptionally separate. And yet, at the same time, while we have this divisive energy happening, we also have an emergence of an energy that's bringing us together, that's working counter to what we're seeing, what we're witnessing, what we're hearing. And it's definitely a presence, it's definitely there. How many of us see more, and especially having not been as busy physically with the doing as we have been in the past through this last year, how many of you have witnessed different spiritual leaders, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, Marianne Williamson, Adyashanti? There are so many spiritual leaders right now that are offering I could just take class after class after class, and most of them are even free. And what they're all inviting us to do is the same thing, isn't it? It's to look at who we really are. That's where we start. We can't start out here in the drama, in the story, right? We have to start here. We have to start at this peaceful center, our Christ nature. Not all of them call it God or Christ, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about this awareness of our oneness. We start there, and then we're able to connect with each other, because we're not connecting from that personal. Remember, the personal identity cannot connect with the spirit. We have to let that go. We have to open to the new possibilities. And when we do this, we break our hearts open. We start to connect from that heart center. This is how the energy of love moves out. We also have to start to be open to communication, open to hearing new ideas. This is also what we're hearing in a lot of these different spiritual leaders, what they're saying and what they're doing. They're not just telling us, are they? They're not just telling us, do your inner work. They're saying, do your inner work so that you can be the change that we need now more than ever. That you can be this healing, unifying, loving energy that starts to bring us together, that breaks through these human constructs of fear and separation. And so we too here at Unity Church of Raleigh are stepping into this idea. We're stepping into it in a couple of different ways. And the first one that I want to share is, we already heard it in the announcements, but we're going to be doing a book study on Brené Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness. Now, there was a group of us that did nonviolent communication for 8 weeks at the beginning of the year. This book addresses how we connect in times of challenge, in times of separation, in similar yet different language. So again, it's helping us to see what's new, what's different, what's possible. And we use different language. Brené Brown, by the way, is a research professor, a social scientist, and author, and she spent the last 2 decades studying courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. And so some of the chapters on the book, and I wanted to specifically share this with you so you get a sense and a feel, we will be looking at these human constructs. We will be looking at how do we move out of them to be authentic, to be vulnerable, to have courage. You know, there's been some times, especially when we were doing the nonviolent communication, when we would be looking at things and talking, and people would say to me, I kind of avoid those unpleasant conversations. I don't want to get into it. And what does that tell us? To me, that's talking about that limitation that we talked about earlier before. It's saying, I have that protective mask on. I am afraid of being in conflict. But if we all hide behind this protective mask at this time, how do we shift the energy? And so some of her chapters that we're going to be discussing will be, people are hard to hate close up. Move in and speak truth. I'm hesitating here, to bullshit. I'm not used to speaking that way up here on the stage. Be civil and hold hands with strangers. So this is what she writes about braving the wilderness, and it explains what she perceives the wilderness as. Belonging so fully to yourself that you're willing to stand alone is a wilderness, an untamed, unpredictable place of solitude and searching. It's a place as dangerous as it is breathtaking, a place as sought after as it is feared. The wilderness can often feel unholy because we can't control it, or what people think about our choices of whether to venture into that vastness or not. But it turns out to be the place of true belonging, and it's the bravest and most sacred place you will ever stand. And so we will continue in this class to look at how we can move into connection from our heart, how we can show up listening, being compassionate, being empathetic. Because if we close ourselves off to being able to hear a different opinion, even if it's one that's charged, even if it's one that has some energy around it that makes you uncomfortable, then what we're not doing is we're not allowing ourselves to get into a place where we're looking at what is actually moving in this person. What are they feeling? What do they need? How can we find this place of connection? Because that's our next step in our spiritual evolution. That's where we are headed. We're headed to find a way to be okay with differing ideas. And it's a challenge right now. You know, before this pandemic, we didn't notice some of these things that have erupted. And I'm going to put it that way because they were there. But we didn't seem to notice them as much. Everyone was busy. We were busy having jobs and getting our children educated and socializing, all of those wonderful things, which is part of the human journey and is all good. But boy, when we stopped, everything shifted and changed. And now we cannot look away. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. The genie's out. And we need to find a way to connect with everyone so that we can be in comfort and peace with differing ideas, even those that are heavily emotionally charged. It's the only way forward. It's the only way forward. And so the next thing that we have coming up too is our spiritual activism group. It's a small group that's gathering. We're just starting. Everyone's invited. Our first meeting will be this coming Wednesday. And we will be joining Unity of Peace. It's in Chapel Hill, Unity, and doing some things together with them around spiritual activism. And so just to wrap it up, what is spiritual activism? It's really basically taking our spiritual, that inner journey that we all need to make in order to become spiritually awake, to become spiritually connected to our Christ nature, and then bringing it out. That's the activism part. Bringing it out. Not to address the problem on the level of the problem, bringing it out in this new way we've just talked about, from our heart center, from our spiritual nature, from that place of love and connection. And so we are on this journey together to discover that we are spirit. We are authentic, expressing as our true divinity. And so it is. Namaste. And let's take some of these ideas into meditation now. I invite you to just close your outer eyes and take a deep breath in. And as we breathe in, let's bring our breath into our heart center. Breathe right into your heart, and as you do, feel your heart break open. Feel that love, compassion, and empathy, kindness, patience. Just feel it moving in you now and through you. And know that you are awake and aware to this presence that we are. I am spirit, an authentic expression of my true divinity. I am one with God, one with each other, one with every being. And it is from this place of oneness that I feel love, unconditional love, where I see the face of divinity in every being, where I show up in peace and harmony, bringing balance into this imperfect world. And let's just take these ideas now into the stillness for a moment. Thank you, God. Thank you for the gift of being awake and aware. Thank you for the gift of feeling and knowing your presence within me. Thank you, God, for this journey through life that I am sharing with those of like mind. And for this, I am so very grateful, and so it is. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
And now I'd like to invite the ushers up, and we are going to say an affirmation. Let's let them get their little bag and come on up. And we know the truth in this moment. Come on up. We know the truth in this moment that it is in giving that we receive, right? It's sort of that reverse idea that we just talked about with spirituality. Divine love flows through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am and have, and all that I give and receive.
Good morning, everybody. Time to get up, stand up. A little Bob Marley for you now. 1, 2. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. He said all that glitters is gold. Half that story ain't never been told. So now you see the light. Now you stand up for your rights. Hey, get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Most people think great God will come from the sky, take away everything and make everybody feel high. But if you know what life is worth, you would look for yours on earth. And now when you see the light, you stand up for your right. Everybody up now. Get up, stand up. Here we are. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. That's it, yeah. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up. Sing with me now. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. We're sick and tired of our ism, schism game. Dying and go to heaven in a Jesus name, Lord. We know it when we understand Almighty God is a living man. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. So now we see the light.
What you gonna do?
We're gonna stand up for our right. Everybody now, get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. I know that you get up, stand up. Don't tell me you don't give up the fight. We got to get up, stand up. All the time now, stand up for your right. You got to get up, stand up. Oh, don't give up the fight. All right, hey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful and so perfect at the end of our talk. Come on up, ladies, and let us bless our offering. And so, do we have another affirmation? No. So let me just bless these offerings that are going to continue to nurture our church, nurture our congregation, and go out into the world to be of service. And so we are so grateful. Thank you. Okay.
I see abundance everywhere, God's rich supply beyond compare. Tears eyes to use and to enjoy, His gifts to us without alloy. Prosperity, prosperity, and now my own has come to me. God sends His children with peace, good health and wisdom and increase. And we are grateful, voices raise to Thee, O God, in hymns of praise.
And now we come to the end of our service with the prayer of protection. Let's say this. The light of God surrounds us.
The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us.
The love of God enfolds us.
The power of God protects us.
The power of God protects us.
And the presence of God watches over us.
The presence of God watches over us.
Wherever we are, God is,
Wherever we are, God is.
and all is well.
And all is well.
And now our peace song.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, united all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me. Yes, this is the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me.
So I invite you this morning to take these words that we've listened to about who we really are. Let go of that egoic construct of fear and protection, and open to the limitless possibilities that we are. And so it is. Namaste.